People of all types.
Your background, it doesn't matter if you're a woman.
Different folks for different strokes.
Yeah. Wait, what? I'm trying to make like a philosophical moment over here, and you're like, dude. You're straightening it up all over there, and I don't like it.
I'm getting my straight all over you.
You're straight all over it.
Here, let me just get that off you. Oh no, I've spread it around.
You made it worse. Oh, that'd be fun if we just did like digestible history.
Digestible, I like that.
Yeah.
We could, if we did it all on food. We
all
called
that
it
history for nothing.
All that history for nothing. Is that just going to be all our things? Yeah. All that cooking for nothing?
Yeah.
All that
Actually,
history
I was
for
thinking
nothing?
we should start a cooking show. We talk about cooking all the time.
We do talk about cooking all the time.
And I was thinking it'd be really, people would probably like it if we would cook.
Yeah, I think they would. The idea of handling the raw chicken still makes my guts turn a little bit.
Okay, well, we're not going to do chicken, but we could do the ramen. We
should do the ramen.
Yeah.
Oh, the ramen. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Let's do the ramen.
Ramen. Welcome to All That Work for Nothing podcast.
With Dorielle and Shane.
Wow.
Like, Thank you for letting me come on to your podcast, baby.
What do you mean?
Well,
it's ours.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you had this great idea, and then, like, you, like, encouraged me to do it with you, and, like, I don't know.
I did feel like in the beginning that I was, like, forcing you to, because it was something that I had always wanted to do, but then I never thought that I was good enough to do it alone, you know? And so I was like, oh, maybe my partner will want to do it with me. And so I felt at first that I was, like, forcing you into it. So that's why like every 2 seconds I was like, are you sure you want to do this? Is this fun for you? Because if it wasn't, obviously I wouldn't want you to do it. I want you to enjoy, you know, this is something I want us to both enjoy.
Well, my biggest worry was something I've already gotten over for the most part.
Yeah.
It's my voice.
Yes.
If you don't know, I hate the sound of my voice.
Who likes the sound of their own voice?
Oh, I know there's people out there who like the sound of their own voice.
Well.
You know people who like the sound of their own voice.
Okay, but like most people would never be like, the sound of my voice is quite soothing.
I do know that there's other people that hate the sound of their voice. And every time they say that, I'm like, no, your voice sounds fine. But for me, it's different, you see.
No, I get it.
No, yeah.
No, I understand.
For me, it's totally different.
Yeah, I totally get that. Because it's different for me, too.
Yeah.
There was one time I was trying to show someone a recording of me singing something once. And I remember listening to it and being like, oh, this is so bad. Because it literally just sounded like my talking voice, but in a sing-song kind of way. And I kind of said that to them. I was like, ew, my voice sounds like basically like I'm talking, but like singing. And he was like, yeah, that's a good thing. Like, you have a nice voice.
You
and
really
like
do.
You have a really great singing voice. And I was like, oh, okay. So like everyone has that, like, is my voice good enough kind of thing. Totally makes sense, especially for an audio medium like this, you know, because while this is a visual medium as well, like at least for me, when I listen to a podcast, if it's visual, I always bring up the visual, like I've said before, but I always have it in like on the side or something, and then I'll glance at it every once in a while, like if they're talking about like a specific TikTok or like a video, or if they're like, oh, do you know this actor, and then they'll like put up a picture of them on the screen or something, so I want to like see what they're talking about. Most of the time though, I just listen to their voice. Right.
I'll pause and go back if they're like bringing something up, but most of the time, yeah, it's just like good to hear their conversation in the background.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so like that's the cool thing about podcasts, is that you can kind of listen to it while doing other things.
Yeah.
Which for people like us who
so
have
great.
The attention deficit
of a hamster. The attention of a hamster.
I like that.
It's attention deficit hamster disorder.
A hamster becomes the representative of ADHD.
Yeah.
But, we could have the hamster races to raise money.
Oh, God.
Like those corgi races. Those corgi races are so cute.
I spilled water all over myself.
You good?
Yuck.
It's just water.
It is, but it's like taking off my makeup. I spent so long on this makeup.
God, you always do such a great job on your makeup.
Thank you. I feel like it's funny because like I always spend a lot of time on it, especially when I'm doing the podcast. Mm-hmm. And then when I'm editing it and then when I see the actual video back, I'm like, you can't even see it. Why do I even try?
I think it's just good to get into like that prep kind of feeling.
Yeah,
like you're like
does get me
yourself.
like, yeah, you're right. It does get me in like that headspace. Like, okay, I'm gonna. But also, if I didn't do my makeup, I'm sure you would be able to tell on my skin.
You think so?
Yes, I would look very white. It
Okay.
wouldn't look good.
Well, your skin color.
Well, maybe not white, but yeah, I would look very white because I am white. But I would also look very washed out.
Your skin color, I think, would change, but I don't think your like face would change.
No, I'm not saying my face would change.
But you would notice the difference in color, yeah.
Like, when you watch movies, I remember like when I found out that men wore just as much makeup as women in movies and TV, I was so taken aback by that.
Yeah.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
Now that I know what to look for. But yeah, it's kind of true. Like your skin behind the lights and the glamour and all that crap, it looks sallow.
Oh yeah, so funny history joke about that. So when they had the first debates between Kennedy and Nixon back in 1960, and there was the first televised debates, Kennedy won. Wore makeup and got tan and everything like that and looked really good. Nixon, because he was like, oh, I'm a manly man, I'm Nixon, didn't want to wear any makeup.
Nope.
He said the guy behind the scenes was like, he refused to wear even what we call like a minimal amount of acceptable makeup.
Yeah.
So he looked like he had just gone on
sickly.
He looked sickly. He looked like he got on a 3-day bender.
Yeah.
And then he was also dumb because he said he was going to visit every state, including Alaska. Mm-hmm. So he was like exhausted. And it was like, it didn't even matter. Sure. And he got into a car accident. So
I'd never heard about that.
Yeah, he got into a car accident and kind of hurt his leg. So that's why he looked uncomfortable. So his leg hurt. So he was like uncomfortable, and he looked like he had, just been on a bender, and he was tired.
And he was sweaty.
Yeah, and he was super sweaty.
Yeah, I remember actually learning about that in high school, actually.
Really?
In, like, government class, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember because that was the very first time that people could see. It was like the first televised presidential election, and a lot of the reason why Kennedy won is because young women were like, hello. But it's kind of true. Like, I mean, nowadays there's none of the people that you see are good looking. But I remember when Obama was do you remember Obama?
Yeah.
Like when he was the first president or presidential candidate to go on talk shows.
Oh no, Clinton went on talk shows.
Oh really?
Clinton famously went on Arsenio Hall's show and played his saxophone, and his stock shot up.
Why did I think that? So Obama did something for the first time.
There's a few things for the first time.
I swear it was that.
I'm not sure. Maybe it was a different kind of talk show or something like that.
The Tonight Show, or
maybe it was that.
Okay, Clinton went probably more on like political talk shows.
Well, Arsenio Hall was like a late night talk show.
I remember Obama was like pretty, like he was very approachable.
Yeah,
Obama, and I remember what was it? He like wore jeans. Remember? He wore like these jeans that were like dad jeans onto one of the talk shows and was just like, see, I'm just like you. And it was very like, it's funny because we all were like, wow, look at him. He's so like us. When there was a team of all these millionaires in the background who were like, okay, we're going to put you in these dad jeans. And then people from this age to this age are going to be like, wow, Obama's so, you know what I mean? It's like, it's so calculated. Well, but to us, it looked so effortless.
One of my favorite podcasts is Pod Saves America, and that's run by a guy who's on Obama's campaign staff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I need to listen to that.
Pod Saves America is really good.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people listen to it, and they said that I would most likely like it.
You would like it.
Although, most of my podcasts that I listen to, for me, like, listening to, like, history podcasts, I can only do it for so long. And political and stuff like that, because we've just said, I have ADHD, so my brain cannot focus for that long.
Yeah.
And so most of the podcasts I listen to are kind of just about nothing. They kind of just like our podcast, where we just talk about whatever comes to our brain.
And just kind of like fades, like you're having a conversation. Like there's a conversation going on around
conversational
you.
podcasts. Yeah. That's kind of what I listen to, and it's more of like a background kind of noise. So, and then also like if I were to hyperfixate on something and lose focus for 15 minutes and then I were to be like, oh shit, I'm listening to a podcast and go back, I wouldn't have missed anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the podcasts I really enjoy just for that aspect, because having ADHD sometimes can be so annoying. It really makes me feel stupid a lot of the time.
No, I get it. See, what that happens to me when I'm doing stuff around the house and I'm listening to a history podcast, I'll lose track all the time.
Yeah.
But when I'm driving, because I'm only doing one thing,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to focus because I'm just doing this one thing and then I'm just listening. So I'm just doing two things.
I still even when I'm driving though, I'll still go off on my own tangent in my head, and I'll have conversations with people in my head, and I daydream a lot.
It's why I can't get through any of these books. If you watch our TikToks where we break down kind of how this office/studio looks, you'll notice we have a whole giant bookshelf. Mm-hmm. Now I've started reading, I would say, most of these books, but I can start books. It's very tough for me to finish books because, like you said, I'll go off on a little tangent in my head where I'm just like, well, if that means that, then this means that, and that is this, and that is that.
Well, and we've talked about this before. It's because you listen to, or you read nonfiction. You read a lot of nonfiction books. And for someone with ADHD, that's really hard to do. When you're reading and you have ADHD, if you know, you know. It's fucking hard. It's so hard to be immersed. And if it doesn't fully immerse you, you're going to miss half of that book. And you're going to be like, fuck, well, I'm going to have to go back and read most of it. For me, the books that the ones that I get so excited about, it's because I was so immersed that's the great thing about ADHD. I feel like it gives you an amazing imagination. Yeah. So when a book fully immerses me, I am there. I can see everything. And I am it's crazy. It's like night and day. When I'm reading the book and then all of a sudden I'm back in real life, I almost get sad. I almost want to go back to that place, No,
I get it.
So yeah, when you have ADHD, reading nonfiction books, if you're not fully immersed in that history or whatever it is, or the subject, it's going to be really hard for you to pay attention completely.
I mean, yeah, reading novels, because of the dialogue, definitely goes a lot easier. And like you said, it's kind of like a world that you get put into, as opposed to the real world that you're kind of going backwards in.
Yeah.
So I know it's so much, but this is the stuff I want to know. So it's tough.
I totally get it. I have the exact same issue.
Yeah.
Because I get really embarrassed that most of the books I read are fictional, which is why I started reading historical fiction, because I started learning about these historical events, and they were a little dramatized, with a completely different story, but the historical aspect is completely true. Yeah. All of those events actually happened. So I would read so that's why I started reading those, because I was so upset with myself that I didn't read enough nonfiction. I need to be better about that. It's okay. I need to be okay with how my brain works,
One of my favorite books was the book I listened to on audio tape. I think it's by Michael Shara. I think it's Michael Shara. Mm-hmm. Can't remember, because his dad was kind of a historical fiction writer, and then he became a historical fiction writer. His dad's the one who wrote the book that inspired Gettysburg.
Oh, okay.
And then he wrote a book about the Chosin Reservoir, which is from the Korean War, which I think is the most understood. Nobody knows anything about the Korean War, but it's super fascinating. And if you have a chance, read more stuff about Korean War. Korean War veterans are probably going to be dying out soon, just the same way World War II veterans have almost entirely died out. So it's really, really important to try to find interviews, try to find books, first-hand accounts, anything like that. Because eventually, once they're gone, they're gone. All that amazing experience and all that amazing storytelling is gone.
Yeah. I don't think I ever told you this. My mom's best friend knew someone who was in the Korean War, and so he thought it would be cool for my brother and I to talk to him, or my brother and me to talk to him. Mm-hmm. So he reached out to the guy and was like, hey, would you mind talking to these two kids about the Korean War and your experience? And we met him for brunch somewhere, and we talked to him for 3 hours. I think I was maybe 13, 14. So this was the time that history really started clicking with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the coolest experiences.
Do you remember like what unit he was in or where he was?
I know he was in the Navy.
Okay.
And honestly, like, it was so long ago. I can't remember. I do remember he cried while talking to us about it. Because,
oh, wow.
Yeah, there was a part where he was talking about where something happened with his platoon or something where he was, I cannot remember. But I just remember him saying that he saw a baby Ruth.
Okay.
And he had been gone from American society for so long that when he saw the baby Ruth, he started crying.
Yeah.
And then while saying that to us, he started crying. And it was really sweet. But yeah, the Korean War is something that it's very glossed over in history books and in history classes, especially. Like, I don't think we even touched on the history of the Korean War really in any of my classes in college. And I was a history major.
Yeah.
Like the Vietnam conflict, that was like super, like I read an entire book on it.
Yeah, it takes the cake.
Yeah. But when you think about the Korean conflict, no, you don't really, because it's so embarrassing for Americans.
You think so?
I think so. Because it wasn't even really, it was never declared a war.
No.
It didn't really do anything, really.
That was UN. It was to me, it's an interesting case because it was actually when we worked alongside the UN and like really had some internationalist like goals of, trying to peacekeep after the war.
But I think the big reason why we didn't talk about it is because the 38th parallel thing.
Oh,
where they like it just I think as in an American like democracy standpoint, why would you want to talk about how we couldn't get to the whole country to become a democracy? Half of that country is under a dictatorship.
Yeah, nobody really cares about ties, which it essentially was.
Yeah.
But the first year of the war is probably the most interesting one because literally it goes from us being all the way down at the very end of the Korean Peninsula, all the way back up to China, and then settling at the 38th parallel.
Yeah.
So and then the war stays there for another 2 years, right along the parallel.
Yeah.
So the first year of the war is super interesting. Definitely recommend reading any books you can. I think it's Michael Sherr's book. It's about the first Marines in the Chosin Reservoir thing. Can't remember the book's title, but go ahead and look it up. You'll find it. It's a really good book. Definitely recommend the audio too. It goes by really quick. If you're one of those people that can listen on 1.5, go right ahead.
I used to do that in college.
I cannot do that.
If I didn't have a chance to get the book, I would get the audio book, and I would listen to it on two times speed or 1.5 speed.
Really?
Actually, there was one time where I had the book, but I was having such a hard time, like digesting it and staying, because I just did not like the content. I was like forced to read this book, so I got the audio book as well. And so I read the audio on 2 times, but I also had the book in front of me.
Oh,
and so I was able to read whatever I missed, but I did really well on that test.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was so bad in college. A lot of it has to do with my ADHD, and I didn't realize I had ADHD until after college. It wasn't until well into my 20s that I realized, why does my brain work that way? Why was I never that good in school? Even when I love learning. Mm-hmm. I love to immerse myself, especially in history. And so, like my history class, I did pretty well, but I just had this thing where I would procrastinate so long to the point where I would have to pull all-nighters right before finals because I just could not get myself into the mood to study or to do any kind of homework or essay until it was like down to the wire. And of course, like I found out a lot about myself through that, where in a pinch, I'm really good. Right? I would get A's and B's. Yeah. On my papers and stuff, but I would be so freaking exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, we're the same way.
Yeah, like I told you about how I had to pull an all-nighter the night before my 20-page paper for my senior thesis was due. So I did really well with that though, because we had to turn in like the first 10 pages halfway through the semester. So I'd already had those done. Okay. And I'd already had all of my sources picked out, like because I worked at the front desk at the museum at that point. So
Okay.
I was like, I had nothing to do for hours at a time up there.
So you just
So I was like, I'm just going to do my thesis work.
yeah.
It was amazing. I got a lot done. But my brain, it's really hard for my brain to like take what's most important and then put it on paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I
It's
get
so
exactly
much
what
for
you
my brain to, and so that's what I do. I spiral and I think about things, and then I this extreme procrastination kicks in because I'm like, I'm not going to be good enough for this. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, fuck, well, now I have to do it.
Right.
You know, because if I don't, I'm going to fail this course, which means failing college.
Yeah.
And I was so determined to get out of college because my stepdad was convinced that I wasn't going to graduate.
Why?
And he did that thing where he like, oh, if I say you're not going to graduate, you're going to work harder to do it.
Oh my God, that is very toxic.
You're never good enough. Basically was what he told me.
That
like, you'll never be good enough. Yeah, why do you think I'm so fucked up, man? I grew up with that.
That is super fucked up. You should have done that when he wanted to open up that business. Should have been like, you're gonna fail. You're gonna completely fail.
Two wrongs don't make a right. That's kind of how I live my life.
Well,
I want to be a good person. I want to be someone that people look up to. I don't want to be like him.
a negative times a negative equals a positive, baby. That's math. And I got C's in math, so pretty good. Pretty good.
If I had better math teachers, I think I would have done really well in math. I loved equations.
Yeah?
Yeah. I remember I told you, like in Algebra 2, my senior year of high school, if I really went home and did my homework and actually worked on it, I would do really well, especially on the tests, which is usually the worst I would do, especially if my teachers were horrible, which most of them were. Like if I'd go up and ask them for help, they would just tell me the answer instead of telling me how I would get the answer. They would, because it was bad. It was really bad. Like a lot of math teachers don't know how to teach.
Yeah,
they're just insanely smart.
Yeah,
you know, which doesn't always calculate to being a teacher. Being a teacher takes a specific type of person.
Math has never made sense to me, no matter what the teacher was, who they explained it to me. Maybe algebra.
Yeah, see, you either have an algebra brain or you have a geometry brain. Geometry
brain.
Also, my geometry teacher was the worst.
I told you my geometry teacher, like, did I tell you a story? Like, she would give detentions if you forgot your book.
Ew, what?
Yeah. I had a math teacher my freshman year.
What's that going to do? It's just going to make you go into that class fearing being there.
Yeah. I remember one time I left my math book in my locker, and I was terrified of getting in trouble. I never got a detention the entire time.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
I was terrified of that too.
I was terrified of getting a detention. So I had another book, and then I had like my notebook in front of that book.
Yeah.
And I made it seem like that was my book, and I just like sweated through the entire class.
Did it work?
It worked. I didn't get a detention.
Wow.
I don't know what I would have done if I got a detention. I would have probably had a little moment.
As a principal, if I had a teacher that was giving detentions for not bringing supplies to your class for one incident, I'd be like, no, I don't accept this. No, we're not doing that. Because what does that do? It's just fear mongering.
I mean, most of the teachers I remember given so much autonomy in their class, especially math teachers for whatever reason. I had my math teacher my freshman year, like I don't think she'd punish you, but she would like call you out if you said shut up. She hated the phrase shut up. She thought it was very disrespectful.
It is kind of disrespectful.
But not if you said it to her. If you said it to anyone. So if you said it in conversation and she heard you, she would like stop the class and be like, don't say that. Don't say that. And obviously, like, we're 14 years old, and we're going to say shut up to each other all the time.
No, I think that's actually kind of, honestly, though. Like,
you like that?
I think I would be like that as a teacher. I don't like that kind of language. You know, I was kind of bullied throughout school.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish that a teacher would have stuck up for me.
Yeah?
I was talked to like that all the time.
Everyone did not like her, I remember, though.
Really?
Maybe it was just like she just kind of had an abrasive attitude in general. Like, that was just the only example I can really think of. Mm-hmm. She liked me because I tried hard and worked hard in her class.
Yeah, you were a tryhard. We've talked about that.
Very much a tryhard.
I was too, though. I was a brown noser for sure.
See, I don't know if I brown nosed, but I just like tried really, really hard and wanted the teachers to like me.
I don't know if I was really a brown nose. Well, maybe I was a little bit.
I think of the brown nosers as like, I don't know, the kids that like would stay after and help or something like that.
Yeah, then I was a brown noser. I would do that,
You
but
would
only
say
for my
after?
favorite teachers.
Oh, okay. Well, no.
And
no.
I tended to like the teachers that no one else liked because I was determined to make them like me.
It's interesting.
I was an incurable people pleaser back then. So I was just like, you will like me.
As opposed to a curable people pleaser now?
Yeah, I don't think I'm much of a people pleaser. I mean, I am still kind of, but I've gotten so much better than I was. I don't allow people to talk to me the way I used to let them talk to me.
No, it's great to see, baby. I love seeing how much like confidence you've gained and how much like respect for yourself you've like garnered and like gained.
A lot of that has to do with, growing up and therapy, but also a lot of it does have to do with you. Like meeting you was one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Because like
I feel the same way
I
about
knew
you.
what I wanted in a partner, because I knew I deserved it.
You wrote it all down.
I did. So I knew. Have we ever talked about that on here?
On here? Oh,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So before I met Shane, I got super into my spirituality and like manifesting things and that kind of thing. So during the pandemic, I got into this practice where I would meditate for an hour a day. I would write manifestations down, like I think on like the full moon or the new moon. I can't remember which one. I'm really bad at remembering my spiritual stuff. Like I'm always like, what do I do in the new moon? What do I do with the full moon? I can't remember. It's my ADHD.
But I think it's very much meant to be an in the moment kind of thing, though.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember there was one night my mom and I were renting a house together at this point to save money, and we both were like, okay, let's try to manifest what we want to in our life. And at that point, I really wanted a partner. I wanted someone who respected me and who I respected and was like through and through a partner. Because I did not have a partner for 10 years in my previous relationship. It was more like, it was never 50-50. There was not a lot of compromise. We were just so young. We just thought we knew what a relationship looked like.
It's kind of set on autopilot.
It was set on autopilot. That's a great way to put it. So anyways, I wrote down in specific exactly what I wanted in a partner. Like, I went really in depth for everything. And I found that document not too long ago, like before we got married. And I remember reading it and weeping. Because everything that I wrote down, Shane is. Shane is literally what I manifested. Like, he's everything that I wanted and more. There's stuff in there that I didn't write down that you encompass that I didn't even realize I wanted in a partner. Like, it was crazy to me. When I was reading it, I was getting goosebumps, and I put that in my vows where I was like, I found this document and I started reading it and I started crying because you are everything. You encapsulate everything that I've ever wanted and more.
It's so sweet.
Yeah. We were watching our vows the other day and just like crying together. It was so cute.
Yes. If you are getting married, definitely recommend 1, keeping the vows.
Yes.
2, finding someone to record the vows.
Yeah. Luckily, my cousin is so great. She recorded like all of it. We didn't have a videographer. We had a photographer because videography is so effing expensive, which I get. Like making it look good and then editing it and all that. I totally understand. We did not have videography money. We had photography money, and that's about it. Our photographer was amazing, though.
Oh, it was great.
Awesome. He's an emo.
Yeah.
So cool. I've talked about him before, but anyways, he was great. But luckily, thank goodness for my cousin. Yeah. Because we were watching. I randomly was just like, I wonder if we have our vows, And because I was really sad. I really wanted to remember that time, and thank God for her because she took the videos. Yeah. And I was watching them and I was like, it made me so happy. Like that. And I remember like, I wanted to be so present at that moment that I really wanted to just be like in the moment because that was the only time I was ever going to be able to live that moment. So when someone captured it for us, it really made it so special, to be able to relive it again.
It is a moment that you want to be able to have forever.
Yeah.
And now we do. we definitely recommend writing your own vows.
For sure.
I
mean, it depends on who you are as a person. For us, like, we are very sentimental, and writing our own vows was amazing. I really liked it. You got a little bit in your head about it, but your vows were so great. I thought your vows were better than mine.
I thought I'm not sure if we talked about it on here, but I think our vows are perfect because yours were funny and mine was sappy. So it struck the balance of what you and I are perfectly.
That's true. It's funny because I am a very deep person. I'm very empathetic, and I can talk about the deepest things with people. But when it comes to writing my emotions to people, I get stunted.
That's so weird because I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I can write feelings and emotions down so much easier than I can say them.
You're so eloquent with your words.
I think it's because I'm afraid of being judged because of talking.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's tougher to judge, like
your writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although when I was in college and in high school, mostly college, I would get my paper back and then just not look at it. I would look at the grade and put it away.
Really?
Yeah.
You never looked at any of the
notes?
Okay.
Nope. I just had a very, very sensitive disposition, and I was very, very I think I would talk to teachers sometimes and they would give me advice. I would go to maybe an office hour here or there.
Yeah.
But in terms of reading the paper and reading all the notes, no, because I would feel wrecked afterwards.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it because you're putting your heart and soul into that. You know what's funny? One of my college professors, who happened to be a math teacher, he told me that I was a damn good writer.
You are a really good writer.
Really?
Yeah. When you write,
I just thought it was funny that a math teacher told me that. So he gave us an equation, and then we had to tell him that our homework was basically to explain exactly how we got to our answer. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very, very meticulous. So it was really great for me to be able to I of course got I got the answer wrong, but he was like, your writing is damn good. I was able to understand where you went wrong and how you went wrong, and how, I even understand how you got your answer.
Yeah.
You almost convinced me that was the right answer. I was like, oh, thank you. That made me, that's one of the best compliments.
I mean, I can totally see it. I guess math professors have to prove their equations and stuff like that, and
yes.
write arguments for their equations and peer reviews and things like that. So that makes sense. But no, I've always thought you were a good writer. I've always thought you were a lot more concise than me.
Yeah,
because I could go off on little flowery tangents.
I used to do that, and then I had a really awesome history professor she was so great. She was a brutal grader.
Yeah.
Very brutal. She was someone that when I would give her papers, I wouldn't read what she wrote back to me because she was
harsh.
Yeah, she'd literally be like, "What the hell is this? Where do you get off with this?
Where do you get off?"
She was an amazing professor though, because she was just, I don't know. She really wanted us to be historians. She wanted us to think like a historian, to write like a historian, and I was lucky enough to be able to take her early on in my college career. So by the time I got to my senior thesis, I was ready. I was ready for that writing. I was ready for that. And she taught me how to write the best thesis of all time. The thesis statement. Mm-hmm. I was so lost on what a thesis statement was.
Yeah.
And then when I took her class, she drilled it into my head. And I'm still grateful to her to this day. She gave me less of a passive voice and more of a concise and I am the leader in this, so you listen to me kind of voice.
Yeah, because passive voice was a big problem for me.
Yep, me too.
Because I think it's both of us because we question ourselves.
Yeah.
So we put a passive voice in there almost as insurance or something like that. Because we don't want to go full we don't want to go all the way into overconfidence.
Exactly.
We feel. Yeah.
Which is funny because I do that in my writing where I'm overly confident, but in real life, I'm maybe I could be wrong about that. Because I feel I've been questioned a lot about being smart because I'm a woman.
Yeah, which
a lot of people, especially men, have questioned my education and my ability to be smart. And so it's gotten into my head, and I've gotten better at it, But a lot of the time, I'll just be like, oh, if it's not right, then, just take my words as a grain of salt or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'll kind of like downgrade what I'm saying because I'm not confident that I'm smart enough to talk about things.
Which is garbage because I feel like people take my opinion for it all the time. Just like people like assume that I'm smart when I start talking about history. Because they're like, well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about and he looks like he knows what he's talking about. But I feel like you're just as smart or smarter than me. But I feel like you've had all this weight of people questioning you for so long that it doesn't come across the same way,
Yeah, I still don't feel like I'm smart enough a lot of the time. That's why I
that bums
read
me
books.
out, baby.
That's why I do when I don't know something. Like one of the things that you say that you like about me is that when I find something out or if I'm really interested in something, I will research it until I know. That's because of my insecurity of being smart. So I'll make sure that I'm, if I get it from one source, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this other source and make sure they say the same thing. And I'm going to compare and contrast. And like, it comes from a deep insecurity of feeling smart.
It's just the way you dive into things, whether it's good or bad. Because like to find something you're interested in to dive into it is one thing, but then sometimes you'll receive news that isn't good and you will have no fear. You will dive right into it and not be afraid of what you find.
Yeah, I have to.
That is just so the opposite of me.
I have a thirst for knowledge.
Well, I have a thirst for knowledge when it's
you do.
But when it's like good things, when it's bad things, a lot of times I will just be like, I don't want to know.
Really?
Yeah,
but there is such a I feel like sometimes knowing is one of the best ways to change that.
Oh, 100%. And I still don't do it. I know for a fact that I will feel better if I do what you do and dive right in and start knowing stuff. And I know that the fear of the unknown that's kind of like plaguing me will go away. Still don't. I will still run the opposite direction. Exactly. I am not Elsa. I am very much not an Elsa.
No.
I'm the reindeer.
Oh, no, you are not.
I'm totally the reindeer.
Well, okay. Let's not say that the reindeer's stupid because the reindeer's really cute.
I don't even remember the reindeer's character.
He's so cute. Sven. But yeah, it comes a lot of the things that I do come from a very deep insecurity that I'm not enough and that I'm not smart. And I still feel that. I still get very jealous. Like when you talk about history and when you have a strong grasp on the subjects that you know so well, I don't have that. My brain forgets things as soon as I read them and it pisses me off. So that's why I do so much research, because I'm like, something one day will stick in there. You know what I mean? Like I still have this thirst for knowledge. I really don't like being ignorant. I
don't
really
think you are at all.
Well, there's so many people that will be like, I watched this TikTok that said this and that won't do research on the side to make sure that's actually true.
Yeah. See?
And so I have to do research to make sure that I'm not just talking shit and just like spewing like okay, there was this TikTok that was going out where this girl was saying like, okay, I want to start a rumor and I want people to believe me. So she tried to make people, she made people believe that they were taking Benjamin Franklin off of the
Mount Rushmore,
which he's not on there, by the way. That they were replacing Benjamin Franklin with Taylor Swift. And she had this whole argument of like, it's because he owned slaves and he wasn't a good person really and blah, blah, blah. And people lost their minds. Instead of doing the fucking research and first of all, knowing that he's not on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that's the funniest part.
Like that's the funniest fucking part too. Is like people are just like, oh, they hear Taylor Swift and they're just instantly angry. They hear a woman, oh, how dare she? I mean, and it's like it's so like I never want to be that dumb. I never want to be that ignorant. So I will do my research.
It blows my mind with especially this kind of new constituency that's out there about how many people don't know like about the Constitution.
Oh my God.
Like,
well, yeah, I mean, first of all, it is a very old document and they don't, the thing is too, is like they want us to not know about the Constitution. the less we know, the less we can stand up for ourselves.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. One, they don't think of the Constitution as like a totality thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think of the Constitution as being all, 26 amendments to the Constitution. They like to think of it as being like the Bill of Rights in the Constitution, and then history stopped right there. So they don't want us to learn about the 14th Amendment or the 15th Amendment.
Yep.
They don't want us to learn about 18th Amendment, women's right to vote.
Yeah.
They don't want us to learn about like okay, the big thing is these dumbasses are like, well, you should have an ID to vote, and I'm like, okay, well, are the IDs free? No. Then it's a poll tax. Poll taxes are illegal under the Constitution. It's one of the amendments. And there's a whole list of reasons of why poll taxes are illegal. But they won't even know that that's an amendment to the Constitution. They just know that it helps them, and it will assuage some fear that they've been told that they should have, and it'll screw the other side over. And that's all they care about. Poll taxes have a really fucked up history. You can look into it on your own, but there's an amendment saying that you can't have a poll tax. Making someone pay for an ID to vote is making them pay in order to vote.
Yeah.
So it's against the Constitution, but they don't want to read past what they have seen from their friends in echo chamber kind of stuff. Like, it's just, I don't know. We say this all the time, but do your own research.
Yes, please do. Please do your own research. It's so important to do that. If you see a TikTok or if you see an article on Instagram or any type of social media-esque place, even your local news, do your own research. Don't just take it at face value. It's super important. And like we've said last time, if you want to be lazy about it, go to Wikipedia, scroll all the way to the bottom where they got their sources, and use your best discretion. But on that note, I think we're going to end it here. This was a good one, right?
This was a good one.
Yeah.
I think we're getting really into our flow.
I think so too.
And also I think like our setup has gotten like incrementally better.
I think so too. I really love our setup. I really do.
And also like the way we have the camera position now, so it's a little bit tucked in, a little bit more intimate. I think is really
now
good.
We're actually using a 4K camera.
Oh yeah, not just your phone.
Not just my phone. So the quality is better. It's getting better, y'all. So if you enjoy it, please subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe anywhere else that you possibly can. Send this to your friends. Follow us on TikTok, on Instagram, on all the things to keep up to date with what we're up to. Interact with us. Comment down below your thoughts. I know on Spotify and on Apple, I always post a question. So answer the question, please. Like, help us get this podcast up and running and reaching more people. If you listen to this far, you're awesome.
Did anyone comment on their favorite NBA real player from last time?
Definitely not. I mean, I just posted it yesterday, so.
Well, if they do, let me know, and I'm about to make some new friends, because apparently that's all you need to make male straight friends.
Is just knowing about basketball or just sports in general?
There's sports in general. But I feel like it's a kind of person that can like name just random guys who played in the NBA for like, I don't know, like 5-7 years. They were pretty good at their jobs.
Well,
made a good amount of money.
Hopefully you can make some new friends.
Had a bunch of fun.
Instead of the 2 that you have.
Hey, I got a solid 2, all right?
Oh, no, they're great.
Yeah.
I love your friends. But they live in Colorado, so you don't really get to see them. So let's get you some friends out here.
It is tough to make friends. I mean, like, I'm sure no one is like surprised by this news, but it is tough to make friends when you get older.
It really is. It's not fun.
No.
Yeah. I've had a very hard time here, like making friends. So
I mean, I feel like you've done a great job. I feel like you've been selective, and I feel like you've been persistent, and I feel like you've been determined, and like you've really done a good job.
Oh, thank you, honey.
Now it's time for me to pick up the slack.
Yeah, we'll get you some friends out there.
I hope so.
Yeah. We'll get you some straight male friends who know all about NBA people.
Thank you.
That was like,
is that too hard? No, I'm sure. They don't have to be straight either. And
I'm joking.
I know. But it is like it's funny. It's a stereotype that only straight men know about sports. A person who I met who was the most knowledgeable about NFL and fantasy football and all that stuff, I met at it was in Hillcrest in San Diego, and Hillcrest is like known for having gay bars and being a gay place, but like doesn't matter. People of all types.
Your background, it doesn't matter if you're a woman.
Different folks for different strokes.
Yeah. Wait, what? I'm trying to make like a philosophical moment over here, and you're like, dude. You're straightening it up all over there, and I don't like it.
I'm getting my straight all over you.
You're straight all over it. I don't like it.
Here, let me just get that off you. Oh no, I've spread it around.
You made it worse.
Once the straight gets on you, it'll never come off.
Oh, stop it. Don't say that. That's the worst thing that could happen